Welcome to a overview of object-oriented programming or classes in Python. And I'll go ahead and share my material. And then we have here a program, and this is just the test program that I wrote in order to test out the classes to make sure they work well. And if I go ahead and run it, then I can go ahead and state a radius for a circle. It'll come back and tell me the area and perimeter for that circle. And if I do the same for a rectangle, then it'll tell me what the area and perimeters are. And if I do the same for a square, then it will do the same thing for a square. If you notice, a square only requires one parameter and a circle only requires one parameter. So then if I go back up and go to the base, which is shape pi, then I go ahead, I always put a header on my file which states general name of the program, my name, and date, and then purpose, and then what the general purpose of this particular program is. And for my classes, this is required for all programs. Then I set up class, which is the keyword for saying that shape is a class. And then I go ahead and I have a one variable for this, and if I was to be technically correct, it should have underscore, and that I'll show off in the next few items. And then on it, the init underscore, init underscore, then self is required on any function that I define in the class shape. And it just says it's referring back to shape so that I know that this is in reference to the shape and it ties it to this. Then I'm going to pass in a name and then set the type to name. And since the subclasses don't necessarily access this init, they access their own init, then I also have a set type, again, self, indicating the shape, and then I pass in a name. And I just had a print statement here just for debugging purposes. And in order to leave it there, I just commented out so it's not really part of the code, but it's there in case I want to exercise it again. And then I do self.type equals name, which I pass in, and I'll show you how that's used later, or I can tell you right now. This just tells what type of object is being created based on shape. So like a circle, rectangular, square, and those are the three objects that I have created for this. Then I can also get type so that I can just make sure what type has been defined and I know what can be done with it. But in all cases, then I go ahead and I force a definition of get area, and it's going to always return a float, and a get perimeter, always return a float. And in this case, in the default cases, I'm just going to return none, which really doesn't make much sense. But hopefully then these two methods or functions are overwritten in each of the subclasses. And the next one I wrote was circle. And again, the header, purpose, define a circle. And if you notice then I import shape, which is the proper way of importing a class. Then I can go ahead and then say new class called circle, and it's based on shape and inherits everything from shape. And then I do use the underscore radius equals 1.0, which is the default radius if I don't define anything else. And then on the init, if I init something, I can pass in a radius, and then I set self dot underscore underscore radius equal to rad. And then I also then at this point set, notice shape dot set type as the parent self, and then I define circle. And then I define get area and get perimeter for circle. Again, notice that each of these, because they're members of a class, have to have the term self. There are no other parameters being passed in. On this one, there is one other parameter being passed in. I don't know how that will work. Yeah, I don't think it'll work, but if I don't have this here, does it even compile? Nope. And that doesn't compile either. So you do have to have shape set type. And so that's it for circle. Then we'll go to rectangle. And I have underscore underscore height and width, both set to 1 as defaults. And then I can pass in on the initialization of height and width, and I set self.height and self.width to H and W, in which I'm passing in. Again, the first parameter always has to be self in reference to the subclass, rectangle. And then I again have a print statement here just as the debug option, and I comment it out. And then I set shape type to rectangle. And then I can come in and allow somebody else to, if I want to reset the sides of the rectangle, then I can go ahead and do that through set sides. And then I can get area and get perimeter. Some people like to have anything you can define. You can do a get also, like if you want to do the get the width and height of the rectangle, then you can do it. Again, reminder, any method or function in a class has to be defined first parameter as self. And then if you notice, I have get area, get perimeter here. And if you notice then in square, because I'm using inheritance, I don't have get area and get perimeter. That is because I'm just inheriting from rectangle. Again, from rectangle, import rectangle. Again, purpose, define a rectangle-based class. Oh, okay. I should be a square based on class. Again, it's indirectly on rectangle, but it's directly on rectangle. And if you notice, I don't even do the information here, or I don't even put in anything about shape in here because this is all inheriting from rectangle. And then again, underscore underscore init underscore underscore self and S, which just means it takes one side. And if you'll notice then, I call rectangle dot set sides self comma S, which then takes care of the height and width of a rectangle. And then I also set type of rectangle to, or rectangle dot set type, which then defaults back to the original one, and I just say I'm defining it as square. this goes back to actually the shape class, and because rectangle is inherits from shape, then rectangle.setType knows exactly where to go and what to do. So again, I don't need to include shape in this. I can just depend on rectangle being able to do the right thing. Then going back in to test, then going through, well, in the calls here, we have rad, what is the radius of the circle? Then I create a circle, and I print its type, its area, and its perimeter. Likewise, I ask the user for the height and width of a rectangle, and I then create the instance of the rectangle, and I print out the type, the area, and the perimeter. And likewise, then I type in this, well, side, length of a side of a square, create a square, and then I type out the square dot get type, and again, inherits all the way up through shape, and it knows how to do that. And then square get area, and then square get perimeter. And then if I want to go ahead and run it, I can go ahead and, well, I just did a rerun on this, but I'll just do it again. Notice it asks for the area of a circle, and I'll just put in a radius of 5. It does say figure is a circle. The area is, and the perimeter is, and likewise, I type in a height and width of a rectangle. It'll tell me that it is a rectangle. Its area is 56, and it has a perimeter of 30. And then, if I make it 12 per side, notice 144 is the area, and 48 is the perimeter, and your figure is a square. So that actually defines it properly. So hopefully this has been helpful, and we'll go ahead and stop the recording. And that just stopped the sharing. So if you have any questions, please ask. And this would be a good area for discussion for either lessons for week 10 or 11. Take care, and we'll see you in class.